What's up guys, Coach Az here. Today we're going to do a striking breakdown of Dustin the Diamond Poirier ahead of his fight with Conor McGregor this weekend. Now the reason I wanted to do this was obviously because the fight is coming up, so it's a great time to talk about him. But in particular, it's because when you look at Dustin's fight, if you go back through his back catalogue, although he is an astonishing MMA fighter, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, etc., really, he's just a great Southpaw boxer. If you look at his breadth of work, so much of it is simply just really solid boxing fundamentals from a Southpaw position. Not only are we going to do a breakdown of what Dustin does, but we're going to talk about just some of the things that a Southpaw does that make them so tricky and so effective, and in particular in a boxing realm. So let's get it started. Starting with, as always, like I like to, is the stance and guard. Now, keeping in mind what I've already said, Dustin Poirier has a pretty classic boxer's guard. He wears it relatively high, hands up by the chin, and he'll occasionally switch between having his lead arm slightly higher and his back arm slightly higher. His footwork, not the lightest on his feet, but certainly not flat-footed either. He stays on the balls of his feet and he likes to shuffle in and out, playing with the distance. He's always presenting soft fakes. So when I talk about soft fakes and hard fakes, a hard fake is me trying to really convince you something's coming so I can hit you with something else. A soft fake is something that I'm always presenting to you. They're little subtle movements. They're just little twinges. So right now you can see I'm just soft faking. I'm showing my shoulders. I'm occasionally lifting one arm or lowering the other. I'm showing little openings to you, giving my opponent something to think about. And Poirier does this really, really well. If we move into the punches in terms of what he does effectively, the biggest thing that I like to see from Poirier is when he doesn't lead off of his lead arm. And again, as a southpaw, this is something you see a lot. So instead of working behind the jab, which we're gonna get into later, Poirier often will shoot straight off of his cross. He'll be light on his feet, moving around, looking for openings, and then bam, shoot that straight left right down the center line. What he does really well is his ability to get his foot on the outside of orthodox opponents. Now, understand why this is so important. If my opponent is orthodox, so that means if I was the bag, I would be left stance, left side leading here. If I'm a southpaw, that means I'm standing here, right stance. Now, if I stand directly in front of my opponent, as we typically would, I would have to bring that cross across my body. So it's like angled through that center line to hit. However, what this stance allows me, especially against someone who's orthodox, to do is to step outside of that person. Now, instead of my cross having to come across my body, it can go straight down that center line. Boom. Allowing me to not only generate a lot more power, but hopefully to do what's called splitting the guard. Splitting the guard means if their guard is here, that punch comes up through the middle and splits the guard in two. So from here, we're trying to work on getting our front foot on the outside to shoot our back arm straight down through that center line. Now, not only is this great because it starts you off on a power shot, which is a great place to start, but it beautifully sets you up for the lead hand hook. Another thing Poirier likes to throw an awful lot is working his back arm cross to his lead arm hook. Sometimes he'll go to the head from here, bam, bam. And other times he likes to dig underneath the guard and hit to the body. 2, 3, digging underneath with that body shot. Let me show you that one again. From here, 2 upstairs to the head, and he'll glance and look, observe and measure, underneath, boom, and land in with that body shot with that lead arm hook. Very disorienting, very effective, and of course, it means everything's a power shot. Poirier hasn't got the most powerful hands in the world, but when you're always throwing crosses and hooks, you're gonna do some damage. Now let's talk about his jab. Poirier has a great jab, but what I really like about what he does with it is when he peppers people with it. He'll use it in the classic sense of shooting that jab, using it to measure, using it to set up the 2. Sometimes he uses it to set up the hook, so he'll come straight in off that jab into that hook. Sometimes to set up a back arm uppercut, boom, up underneath. But what I really like is the peppering. What he will do is he'll get people tired, and when he gets them tired, he likes to pepper them with a jab. Touch, touch, touch. What this does to an opponent is it gives them something to think about whilst they're turtling. Turtling being bringing their guard up and dealing with those shots incoming. Dustin is really patient in this instance. He takes the time to pepper that jab, look for where the openings are, where he can then open up with some power shots. So he'll go pepper, 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 rip, rip, pepper, 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 rip, rip. He'll rip power shots at the end of the combination, reserving his energy and ensuring that when he throws those significant strikes that they can do significant damage, rather than simply landing on the guard. This is quite a difficult thing to do because, of course, at any point, your opponent can throw back at you. So this is why that high guard of his is important. While he's doing this, this hand is up here, protecting this side, and this shoulder is often slightly raised. He's very good at tucking his chin, keeping that chin tucked as he's peppering that jab, using his eyes to glance over his opponent, look for where the openings are, and hit those power shots. Let's talk about how he gets to finishes an awful lot of the time. Now, this is something I really like about Poirier as well. He understands that if something's working, there's no need to change it. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you go back and watch all of his finishes, the ones especially, of course, where he finishes them on the feet, he tends to get them up against the cage and start throwing a lead hook, rear hook combination. And by throwing it, I mean repeating it over and over. He'll get them on the cage and he'll be going boom, 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 until that referee calls stop. He doesn't feel the need to start mixing up the combination and varying his targets when the shots continue to land. He saves his energy and he understands that effect of rotating the body through one way to generate power when rotating back through the other. So very often he'll find two shots that are landing, one off the lead, one off the back. It might be a lead hook and a body shot, and he'll just continue to rip that combo against you until you crumble against the cage. This is a real simple, really effective way of finishing fights. You'll also see him if he finds that shot that lands. Let's say he's in on the clinch and he finds this body shot. Poirier has no issue with just continuing to dig it. He will just dig, 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 dig over and over and over again on that point until you do something about it. Now, once his opponents adjust, once they move, once they adjust their guard, then he's happy to open things up and move on from there. Let's talk about his kicking game. He doesn't have a big one, but he does have one. Now, Poirier is not particularly flexible, so I don't think you've actually seen him throw a proper head kick in a fight. Feel free to correct me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. He occasionally will throw a back leg roundhouse. Again, against that orthodox stance, that body shot is wide open. So that ability as a southpaw to shoot that back leg roundhouse, that's a really effective weapon. You can hit them on the liver, you can hit them round into the body, and you can use it to set up the hands to come upstairs as well. But what Poirier really likes to do is work some leg kicks, as we saw in the last Conor fight in particular with that calf kick, whether it be coming off the back or coming off the lead side. Why? Quite simply, it's easy. It doesn't require a lot of flexibility, it doesn't need a huge amount of power behind it in order to do damage, and as a boxer, it really helps to set up the hands. You shoot a leg kick and you open up your punches. You shoot your punches and you can finish on a quick leg kick. So he doesn't need an awful lot of flexibility in order to execute them, and they're a really effective way of making his hands work even better. If he can compromise your leg, then you're a sitting duck for his boxing and he can get that in and finish you as well. There we are, guys. There's a little striker breakdown on Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I hope you're watching the fight this weekend. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.